Hi everybody, welcome to Nurs 490, Capstone and Baccalaureate Nursing. Welcome to your last course, and congratulations on being almost finished. You'll be graduating in December, and I'm sure you're all very excited about that. So what I'm going to do for this first presentation is go over the general orientation information, and then I will do the first assignment presentation in with this orientation. And then I will do a presentation for each of the other assignments. I think it will be a lot easier. In the past, I've always done it as one big presentation, but it gets really big. And I think it's a lot for students to remember. And then you get to discussion board 4, and you're like, what did she say about that? I don't remember. So I'm going to try to chunk it up a little bit and see if that helps. And obviously, as always, if you have any questions about any assignment, just feel free to contact me. I'm always happy to help you and answer questions. Starting down the left here, we're just going to go down each tab and I'll explain things briefly. And then, like I said, we'll get into the first assignment. And that is where it says announcements. Hopefully you've seen the announcements that I've posted thus far for this course. And I will also email those because I know it's very important that you get information. I know you all work and you have lives and you're busy. And maybe you don't get on Blackboard every day, but hopefully you're checking your email every day. So you don't miss anything important. Obviously, there's a course calendar for this course, but the best way to communicate is probably email. So please do be checking that fairly frequently. But you'll see it here as well as your inbox. The next tab is Start Here Orientation. It's obviously empty because I'm making the presentation right now, but when you finish this orientation presentation, then you should have the basic information that you need to get started, as well as, again, to know how to proceed with assignment 1. This next tab is also empty, but this is where I'm going to put the subsequent presentations that I provide for you. I plan to have most of those done in the next week or so, but I guarantee you, if you take the time to do each assignment, it's going to probably take you that full week to complete. So there may be times when you're able to work ahead, but as long as you keep up, that's fine. There's a lot of flexibility in this course, and there's a lot of independent due dates depending on how quickly or how much you maybe need to work on an assignment. So just know there is a little flexibility, but overall the due dates are kind of there for a reason. So if you're not going to meet those due dates, then you'll need to let me know. But long story short, those presentations will be here, so when you're ready to view them, you'll be able to do so and then move forward with whatever assignment you're on. Syllabus schedule. I always post the Common Course outlines for my courses, this little CCO down here, but this is nothing you have to look at. It's basically so it doesn't get lost if I'm not the one to teach this course next semester, or for whatever reason accreditors would want to look at it or something like that. It's always posted here, but this is basically the shell syllabus for each course, and it kind of covers the basic components that are supposed to be in each course. So we have those for all of the courses in the program. I think some faculty post them, some don't, but I always just make sure they're here just to be complete. But we all want to look at this one here, excuse me, sorry, which is the syllabus and the calendar. Sorry, I'm working on this from home and my internet is really slow, so bear with me as I try to get things to open here. Looks like it maybe will do it now. Okay, so this is the syllabus for this course for this semester. You can see this is a 3-credit-hour course. This is also a reading, writing, speaking intensive course. So all of the components in this course had to go through the university committee that reviews these types of courses. And so it's very specific in the things that I have to do for reading assignments, for writing assignments, and for speaking assignments. So everything in this course has a purpose in order to meet the requirements of Vincennes University. Okay, here you can see my contact information. Here is my office phone. I'm on the second floor of the the Center for Health Sciences building. And here is my email. That's probably the best way to find me. I'm pretty attached to my email, so I'm always happy to communicate that way. Feel free to call me. My office hours are posted here. I know they don't look like I have, very many. I also do have a couple virtual office hours, so you can feel free to call me during that time or jump on Blackboard Collaborate, because I'm required to be on Collaborate during that time. But I'm usually at work from 8 to 5 every day. I'm also the Associate of Science and Nursing Program Chair, so I wear that hat as well, and there's a lot of responsibilities, obviously, with that. So just because I have posted office hours here, it doesn't mean that I'm not there and you can't give me a call and leave a message or whatever, but I may be doing something for that program. So anyway, I assure you I'll get back to you in a timely manner. I know your time is important and that you need a response from me to be able to do your assignments. So I'll probably get back to you within that day, even though the syllabus says I have 48 hours. I really try to be respectful of your time and get back to you ASAP. Now, when the university is closed or it's a weekend, oftentimes I'll even shoot you an email back on the weekend, but make sure that if you have an urgent question for me about an assignment that you let me know as soon as possible, so there isn't a delay in time in case, it's fall break or Thanksgiving break or whatever, because I know you want to get questions answered. Okay? And this actually says 24 hours for a work week response time, 48 hours on the weekend, but it's my goal to exceed that to get your questions answered. Okay? I'm not going to read this to you verbatim, but basically, as I said, this is a reading, writing, speaking intensive course. This is the last course of the baccalaureate program. You can take other courses with this course, but this has to be in your last semester before graduation. Okay, so again, you can read all these lovely liberal education outcomes and UCC outcomes if you'd like, but it basically just ties together to meet the course outcomes and then capstone outcomes for university. Okay, and we're going to do several different activities to make sure that you meet those outcomes in this course. Okay, so this is a lot of techie, deep stuff, but anyway, it's just part of that reading, writing, speaking intensive as well as the end of the program course outcomes. The course outcomes are listed here under Roman numeral number 10. Looks like my spacing got a little messed up on there. Actually, I guess that's okay. Excuse me, Roman numeral 5, sorry. So you can see here that you're going to create a research proposal related to nursing, and these are related to the Baccalaureate Essentials. So if you look at the Baccalaureate Essentials, which is one of the underpinnings of our program, hopefully you know that by now, that's what helps our program to stay accredited, is by using those essentials. The second one is to orally disseminate for a research proposal, collaborate in the collection, documentation, and dissemination of information, and integrate the knowledge and skills of applicable major coursework in the university core curriculum coursework. Like I said, we are tied to university requirements as well, not just our program. So you're going to be doing a lot on discussion board. You are going to continue to write in APA style at the level that you should be writing at as a last semester BSN student. I know a lot of you are going to be going on to practitioner programs, maybe DNP programs, PA programs. We've had several students go on to be nurse anesthetists. So you're going to be expected to write at a higher level, and so we want to prepare you to do that. So I may ask you to rewrite something 2, 3, 4 times. Not always, but obviously we need to get you to a certain level of writing, especially if you're going to use something like this capstone paper to apply for an advanced degree program. It needs to be good, right? You're also going to present this to your peers in the workplace, and the components of the presentation come from your paper. So you want to make sure, again, that you are articulating, communicating, that your PowerPoint slides reflect scholarly research that a last semester BSN student should be able to prepare and present. Okay, as far as books, you just need that lovely APA manual that you've been using all of this program. It's ideal if you have the Pollitt and Beck book. I know we require that in research and tell you to keep it for subsequent courses if you don't have it. Another research book will work, but the readings that I've given you probably aren't going to help if you don't have it. So if you have an older version or something like that, it's going to be up to you to figure out the content and to be able to read it and to apply it to your project, okay? But I'm not going to do, obviously a search to see that everybody has the exact book or the exact edition of the book. But it probably would be recommended, at least if you don't have one at all, that you rent it, because otherwise some of these sections are going to be pretty hard for you to do because you get a little researchy there towards the end of the class. Obviously, you need a laptop with a microphone because you're recording presentations. You're going to upload your presentation that you give to your peers for me to watch, as well as some of your fellow peers in class. So you'll need access, whether on a phone, an actual camera recorder, something that's going to record you as the person and also your voice, okay? So make sure you have that capability early on. It is easiest to upload videos, as you may have already figured out, to YouTube. Some people do use Google Docs, but I found YouTube works a lot better. So you could always get a free account to do that and then delete it when this class is over. The most current copy of our handbook is on here, as it is for all classes. So make sure that you review that if you have any questions or concerns about any of the course or program policies in particular. The grading policy is similar, but you can see here it's broken down into how you're evaluated for the reading component, the writing component, and the speaking component of this course. So you do have to present in front of a group. I will talk more about that later because there are some particulars that you really need to know about that. You will not be considered successful in the course if you do not meet that criteria. And that is, 10% of your grade. So again, I'll talk more about that later. Okay, but again, these are things that any student at VU who is in a 4-year program in their baccalaureate capstone course has to follow these criteria. Our grading scale is the same. That's nothing new. And then the assignments here, you'll have a research proposal, which is all it is a fancy word for your research paper. You have to present orally and also have a PowerPoint of your research proposal, which is coming straight out of your research paper. You have Blackboard assignments, and then you're going to review one another, as you probably have in other courses. And that will give you your total points. Okay, please know we have an accreditation visit coming up in fall of 2020, so we may use course assignment examples from this past year to show to our accreditors. 5% deduction per day if your work is not turned in on time. Now again, as I said earlier, this course has a little flexibility with it, but if you're going to be crazy late on an assignment, you need to communicate with me. I shouldn't have to ask you, hey Susie, why is your assignment 2 weeks late? I don't have it. We should be having that conversation. There were some students that were still taking this class with research. If you are taking this class and research at the same time, I totally understand that some of those assignments have to come before you're able to do the assignments for this class. But I'm pretty sure we've cycled through most of the students that have done that. But if you are in both courses, please just let me know. Dr. Morgan and I try to collaborate our rosters to see who that might be. But it's just as easy for you to speak up also and say, hey, I'm in 360 and 490. It can be done. It's a little hairy, but it can be done. But you also get some leeway on your assignments. But other than that, please communicate. Work is not an excuse. I work 2 jobs. Sometimes I'm working 14 days in a row too. So, I totally get the work thing, and I know sometimes things happen. And I want to be sensitive to that and help you. But stuff can't be late all the time just because you work, because I'm pretty sure everybody in this class works. Okay, so plan ahead. Look at your calendar. I gave you your calendar last week, so you could kind of start planning dates accordingly. And it'll be fine. You'll survive, okay? And I'm here to help you through that and coach you through that and tell you that you'll survive even when sometimes you feel like you won't, okay? Plagiarism. Please don't plagiarize. Now, let me say something else about this course. Some of the assignments that you've already used in other classes are going to be used in this course, okay? So you may look like you're plagiarizing yourself. I have some students panic, oh my gosh, my safe assign was 40%. But I'm plagiarizing myself. It's because you've used some of this work in other classes, and that's okay. But if I find that your work is work from another student's paper, that has been in this program, another student's paper in this class. Trust me, we've kind of seen it all at this point, which is really disappointing. I've taught in this program now for 7 years, and it's not a very long time that goes by that we haven't had those instances. Do your own work. This isn't hard. This only ends up being about a 6-page paper and a 10-minute presentation by the time you're finished. And I really don't know why anybody would want to use someone else's work when this is something that is really going to help you to shine and really help you to get to that next level of professionalism and researching and then disseminating a issue in the workplace that hopefully you care about. That's why you picked it to begin with. Okay, so I do run Safe Assign on all of the assignments, but again, if you're worried about your Safe Assign number, just email me. Hey, I got this high number, but I think it's all my stuff. Will you check it? If you come to me and we talk through it first, I'm not going to be upset by any means, versus if I figure it out and I have to say, hey, how come your paper matches the person that was in the class before you last semester? Because unfortunately, like I said, I've had that happen before. So I'm very attuned to it. I also know the projects that have been done because I've been teaching this class a long time. So please just let it be your work. But if you're worried about your Safe Assign, again, we'll talk through it and that will be just fine. Okay? So no worries there. Attendance policy, that just means that you should be doing your work. You should be logging onto Blackboard on a routine basis, especially when things are due. If you're going to be late for something, if something happens, I get it. Life happens. People have babies. People get sick. Things occur. So just communicate, and I will work with you and do everything I can to help you be successful. So when I don't hear from you is when I can't help you. Okay? Some of these things are kind of silly because we're distance ed, but we have to put them in here. Obviously, you can use all of the electronic devices because that's helping you to be a good online student. I talked a little bit about Safe Assign. Like I said, academic dishonesty, just make sure your work is yours. If you have any disability that we need to make special accommodations for, there is the policy in the VU catalog, and we also have a statement in our handbook. And again, please let me know what I can do to help you because that's what I'm here for. Respect for diversity. We all come from different backgrounds, different areas of nursing practice. So we want to be respectful of other people's projects, of other people's opinions, in a professional manner. I'm sure that you have that down pat by now because obviously most of you in your workplace you're dealing with diversity. So, just be cognizant of, even though somebody may be doing a project that you're not familiar with or you're not comfortable with, or you're thinking, why would that be fine, in their area, but it's totally different where you're from. We have some students that are out of state that live in a different part of the state, but we're going to respect those things. Because everybody's situation is different. Like I said, all the policies are in the handbook. I'm not going to read that to you. This just kind of goes through the different types of assignments, and I will go through that too before this is all over with. Excuse me. Sorry. That brings us to the first set of assignments, which is the discussion board assignments. Okay, this course has several assignments that serve as stepping stones to a capstone assignment at the end of the semester. The assignments build from knowledge you gained in previous courses like 300 Professional Nursing, 360 Introduction to Nursing Research, and specifically you'll probably be working with the PICO question that you developed, but also the literature review that you developed in research if you kept the same PICO. If you didn't, or if you're to this class, you're like, what, I really didn't like my PICO question, I really didn't like my lit review, and I want to start over. Keep in mind, this is only a 6-page paper. You can do it, and the number of references is not horrific. So if you wanted to switch gears and do something different, a lot of students have done that, or maybe they liked what they found in their lit review, but it doesn't match their PICO. If you're struggling with trying to figure out how to get this project started, that would just happen to be what I'm here for. So I can help you, and I can, getting a little click happy here. I will make sure that you get in the right direction. A lot of these projects end up being more like a quality improvement project, or it's not necessarily a deep theoretical research project, but it's finding a project or a problem in your workplace and doing something to make it better. And a lot of that boils down to education, right? So let's say that we have this fall program at our hospital, and on our unit we have all of these things that we know we need to do, but we don't do it. Well, is it because people just don't want to do it and they're going to be bad nurses and let their patients fall? Or is it maybe because they learned about that fall program in orientation and they really kind of never really had to use it that much, or maybe they forgot, and so it's about, re-education. How can we re-educate people? How can we ensure competency? Maybe we need to review every year at our unit-specific skills day and not just at general orientation. So you'll see that a lot of these projects boil down to quality improvement and education. So we still kind of call it a research project, but it's just about making something better where you work that can affect change to improve patient outcomes. Okay, so your PICO questions kind of gonna guide you, but when you think about a research paper, you kind of have to introduce the subject. Then you're going to give a little bit of a background of the problem. Then you're going to do a lit review, and then you're going to hypothetically discuss how you would implement this study if you were going to do it. At the baccalaureate level, you do not have to implement your project. You just have to talk about how you would implement it. But understand at the master's level, you would implement it. And some students have taken these hypothetical projects and implemented them at the master's level. Okay, so it is possible, but that's not our expectation. Now, we've had a few students that have done that. We've had a few students that actually made a change, and that was really great to see. And it just worked out just fine. So it's just kind of up to you how you want to take it, just knowing that everybody's project is going to be unique, and you're going to review one another's, you're going to give each other feedback, even though maybe you don't know a whole lot about, let's say, hospice care. I've had several people do timely referrals in hospice. That doesn't mean you can't give some feedback of, what if you were the hospice nurse, or what, I'm sure most of you have had a terminal patient at some point. Or think about it even from a consumer perspective as a family member. So there's lots of ways to look at these things that you can give valuable feedback to your peers. Okay? As I said, you are going to build a research proposal paper. It's just a research paper, but that's what we call it, as a proposal, because you're not doing it, but you're telling us how you would do that. So it's kind of hypothetical. And then you're going to present it via a PowerPoint to the audience. Like I said, you're going to bring some information from 300 and 360 forward. So we want you to do that. So if your safe assign ends up a little high, that's okay. All right. But also keep in mind, if in the Nurse 300 course, if you were given some feedback on your PICO and you needed to fix it, make sure I get the fixed version. On your lit reviews, don't give me the lit review that you submitted. You need to give me the lit review that Dr. Morgan graded, okay? Because she's been in research quite a while too. We're kind of the research capstone team here. We've been doing these courses for quite a while, so we talk a lot about what we're getting from students. And what we find is a lot of times students aren't fixing their papers based on our comments. So I get the same stuff you submitted that you didn't even fix. So you're not going to just copy and paste, right? Also, you may need to find some newer articles. Maybe it's been 2 years since you took capstone. Your articles have to be less than 5 years old unless there's a darn good reason to use one that's older than that. And you can talk to me about that if you're just like, I really got this great article and I think I need to use it. It's kind of a seminal work, or it's a historical work that it has a great relevance to this topic. That's fine, but again, we need to communicate versus I see that you're using a 10-year-old article that really has no relevance to your current project. Okay? So don't just copy and paste. Make sure you read it and critique it and make sure that it's good and it's right, because I spend a lot of time grading papers and giving you feedback, and if I can tell that you haven't even looked at this thing since Nurse 300 or research, and you haven't even tried to fix it, and a lot of times I'll go to Dr. Morgan and say, hey, what did you do with this person's paper? And she can go back to the course and look. Well, I told them they needed to fix this and this, and they needed to do this and this, because I'm like, this is kind of bad. And she's like, well, I graded it. They just didn't fix it for you. So, and then there's some of them that are just stellar and amazing. And it's like, wow, really took all her feedback to heart, and they fixed it and they revised it, and it's just a really good piece of work. So take pride in it. Just don't try to slop something together because you think you have to turn in an assignment, okay? Because again, you have to present this. As you receive feedback on your discussion board assignments, make revisions to your research proposal in PowerPoint. The idea is to put together a research proposal working document. That means that once you get feedback from me, for example, on the introduction part, put that in your paper. And I would also suggest that you put it in APA style. Do the running head, do the page numbers, do the title page. What I'm finding is that a lot of students at the end are messing up on their APA. Their paper, the font is different on the running head than the rest of the paper. There's no page numbers on it. The APA style is off. So make sure that you are putting that in a document so I can look at that APA stuff. Because at the end, you should be able to get 100% on your final paper. Because you had it in that format to begin with, and I could give you that feedback. Okay? Same thing with the PowerPoint. You know, PowerPoint should only be bullet points. Do not take your whole paper and copy and paste it onto a PowerPoint. Okay? Make notes for yourself. That's what a good presenter does. And you're just going to have bullet points with several words on it to guide your thoughts. But do not copy and paste the whole paper into your PowerPoint, because I will tell you, you cannot present with that. Okay, so you can make a draft. If you want me to look at it early on, I'd be glad to look at it. I think most of you are probably really good at PowerPoints by now because we require them in each course. But again, I wouldn't wait till the last minute to put all this stuff together because you might lose a revision. Oh my gosh, where did that go? Once it's graded and you get it back, start putting them in these documents, and then by the time the end of the semester rolls around, you're done. So, no wait until the last minute kind of stuff. Because let's face it, by December you're going to be squirrely, you're going to be done, and you are going to want to just present this thing and graduate. And I totally get it. So if you do a little bit of that extra work along the way, you'll be able to just go in, present, upload it, do some feedback to your peers, and enjoy your break. Okay? And again, I'm not going to make you do that working document. That's up to you. But I would highly suggest it if I were you. Don't be a procrastinator. All right. Like I said, I am only going to tell you the information for the first discussion board, and then I will post one for each discussion board, and then the rest of the assignments at the end. But I'll have them posted at least, if not this week, by the end of next week. Okay? So I'll show them to you. This is where all the assignments are, but this is the only one we're going to talk about because otherwise, like I said, this gets way too long. All right, discussion board 1. And so you may have already done this in Nurs 300, right? You came up with this PICO question. You took a lot of time to do it, but why did you pick that PICO question to begin with? Because it was either a policy, a procedure, a problem, or an issue in your workplace, clinical setting, community that corresponds with your PICO question. Okay, so you picked one of those things and developed a PICO question from that, correct? Alrighty, so we want to obviously improve this problem, issue, procedure, policy, whatever it was that you picked in your workplace. Even if you don't work there anymore, if you can get a professional audience to come listen to your presentation. For example, I had a student who had worked long-term care and went to OB, but she still really liked the topic she picked, and her OB nurse friends were happy to listen to it. Okay? If you can still find a nursing audience to listen to your presentation, even if you've changed jobs or whatever, that's okay. Okay, if you just have nobody to present to, let's say that you are not working right now, let me know that, because I can always get a group of nurses together to listen to your presentation, and we can talk more about that. But just, again, don't panic about it, but know that there are options if you're not currently employed in that area, or you're not employed at all, or whatever. Or if you've changed your your focus from Nurs 300 or 360 till now. Okay? But here you could see, this is the example we gave you. If your PICO question is related to interventions to decrease infant mortality rates, research evidence-based guidelines that have been statistically significant in decreasing infant mortality rates. Where am I going to look for those types of things? That's going to be probably in your your websites, and it could be on cdc.gov, but you want those strong statistics. Research studies are nice, but it's only a snapshot of one person's part of the country, one person's perspective, one person's research group. So when you can get national guidelines from places like the CDC, from Healthy People 2020, from maybe the one of the OB societies like A1 or something like that, then that's going to help you. You want that hard data that supports that this is an issue or problem, okay? You're going to compare the informal or formal policy or procedure in your workplace with the most current evidence-based guidelines. Okay, let's say that you think that there's a high C-section rate in your hospital. What do the national C-section rates look like? Are there other ways that education can help decrease a mother's request for a C-section? Obviously, a lot of times that's physician driven, right? But maybe there's a lot of women that just think, oh, I'm just going to have that C-section. So that's maybe a patient request, and so there's too many. Well, what are the national statistics out there about C-sections? What should those numbers be, and should how does that compare to, say, your workplace? Just kind of trying to keep with the OB topic here. Okay, choose the most relevant evidence-based guideline for this discussion board post. Okay, so you're going to, in one paragraph, which is about 3 to 5 sentences, it's not real long, describe the identified policy, procedure, problem, or issue in the setting of interest. For example, your workplace, which would be most ideal. One paragraph comparing the identified policy, procedure, problem, or issue with one current evidence-based guideline. Okay, and then you're going to cite it. And if I were you, I would start a running reference page, and as you add references, keep them alphabetized. Okay? So right here is not your PICO. Your PICO is not actually until discussion board 5. This is the introduction of the problem, and then find one statistical piece of evidence to support it, as I described just a minute ago. Okay? But you will cite it for your discussion board as well. Okay? And then you're going to respond to 2 people, because this is a lot about interacting. I find that, some students tend to pick students that they don't know anything about their topic because they want to learn something new. Some students might pick it because, they're also OB nurses, or they're psych nurses, or med surg, or whatever. We would like to encourage you to, maybe pick someone that has a similar topic than you, and one that's different. But again, am I going to go through and check all that to make sure that Susie picked one that was just like hers and one that was different? No. But it's just kind of to help you branch out and to learn about other areas of nursing. Okay? Provide your personal or professional experience and views, and find another evidence-based article or guideline, which is less than 5 years old, to summarize the information and cite the source. We're also going to help each other by providing additional resources. So let's say that I used one of the CDC guidelines, then maybe my friend who reviewed my post is going to give me some information from Healthy People 2020 or whatever. Again, you want some good hard quantitative statistical data to support, or evidence-based data to support your issue or problem that you've chosen. Okay? So that is all discussion board 1 is, and that's all I'm going to talk about it for, as far as tonight, or for now. Okay? Please do note, I'm going to scroll through here. You have 8 discussion boards. So I will post a brief introduction to discussion board 2. And then there'll be one for discussion board 3, which is actually the problem statement. So you're going to introduce your problem. Here you're going to talk more about the problem in this one. My computer is giving me fits. I'm sorry. Discussion board 4 is your literature review, so brush the dust off of that sucker and know that you're going to need that out in a couple weeks, but not right away. But that's obviously a big section. Discussion board 5 is your PICO question, so this is where you can dig your PICO question out and utilize it. And we'll talk more about that later. Your theoretical framework, obviously you know that most research has a theoretical framework or a theory that underpins and supports your issue, your problem, your policy, whatever you've chosen. And you should have learned about theory in Nurs 300. Okay, that's an easy one to do, but I'll explain it. And then discussions board 7 and 8 is the proposal part of your paper, because that's where you're going to discuss if you were to do this research project or this quality improvement project, what would you do? Okay, so this is where the research book will come into handy, so you have a few weeks to get your hands on one if you need one. And then discussion board 8 is the data collection and analysis, and this is where your stats is going to come back to haunt you, unless you love stats. So you may need to get online, and I've also posted some tools for you that might help you with this part. And it doesn't have to be hard, and I'll explain that more later, but it's obviously a very important part of research, because I can investigate an issue or problem or policy or whatever it is, but if I don't have any kind of way to collect data and analyze what I'm trying to figure out, then, you know, what's the point? Because I want to know if the data I'm collecting is quality, and then what do I do with it? Because maybe I'll find out, wow, this is a really big problem, or I may find, you know, that it's not, but maybe I just need to do something as simple as education, or, you know, maybe I need further research. I don't have any conclusions. So that's what discussion board 8 will be all about. And again, I'll explain it here as we go. All right. Alrighty. So these last two sections here, oops, sorry. You'll have peer review to the PowerPoint presentation that you're going to do, and then also responses to those comments. Okay, so that's another. Those are two more discussion board areas that you will do related to the video. So I'll show you where that is here in just a little bit. So just know that you'll be doing peer review at the end, and then you're going to answer any questions that your peers have for you as part of that discussion board assignment. Okay, but I'll talk more about that later. Just know that that's one of the discussion boards. All right. And then you have your research proposal paper, and I'm going to talk about that separate because there's a lot to it. So we'll discuss that, but you can read the criteria. And this is kind of a double thing again, because this is a VU class. We tried to break it down for you here, just as, you know, pretty much, you know, what is supposed to be in each section. And you need to know the difference between first and second level headings. I have a lot of students that still kind of mess up their headings, so we'll talk about that when we talk about this paper assignment. Okay, but you can look at this again. You can see the paper is only 6 to 7 pages, so it's not that long. But I'll have a presentation for you on that. And then here is this one. This is the actual rubric, and we tried to take the previous information on the previous page and put it here, but we had to have both because of the nature of the course. Okay, so again, I'll explain that one. And then the oral presentation, you can see here. It's got very specific instructions on how to do it, and so I will go through that and post that for you. And then here's the grading rubric for the presentation, okay? And again, I will go through that with you because I don't want you to be overwhelmed with all of that at once. Okay, so those are, in a nutshell, the assignments. I've only told you about the first one, and you'll learn more about those other ones later, but feel free to read it. And then after you watch the presentations, I'll let you know when those are ready. Then if you have questions, you can let me know. Alrighty? So here you can see for week 1, you're supposed to listen to this orientation, drag out your PICO and your lit review. I would develop that draft, research proposal working documents and PowerPoint, so you have everything together as you go as it's graded. And then need to determine the date and time for the oral presentation of PowerPoint with your manager. And I did not change the date on this, I see, and I apologize, so I will fix that for tomorrow. But I am going to give you until, let's see here, just when you think you got all the dates fixed, there's always one that you don't. And so it looks like it needs to be week 5 because it says submit necessary information regarding presentation of PowerPoint. So just know that you'll have to have that done by the week of 9/16. by that Friday at 8 a.m. Okay, but I will fix this date right here. So that would be, let me look at my calendar on my phone real quick. The week of the 16th, we need to have it done by the 20th at 8 a.m. Okay, so where it says 2:15, that actually needs to be 9:20, but I'll fix it. All right. So that is week's 1 assignment. And then over here, we just have to put like how long an estimated time of completion would be for you to do these assignments. So here's just kind of some prep work. And this is the average, but again, I'm not going to come to your house and ask you how long it took you to do these assignments. It's just an estimate that distance education makes us do. Okay, you can see that most of these assignments are due Friday at 8 a.m. So you can see discussion board 1 is not due until Friday at 8 a.m. of next week. So you have plenty of time to work on that one. And then the response is due the following week. And whoops. My computer is just not wanting to behave, sorry. And you can see reading through the calendar, it basically just tells you when things are due, when responses are due. Again, when you're, the information, like I said, you just have to schedule a date and a time to do your oral presentation with your manager. Now, don't panic. You know, if you're not sure when the meeting is going to be, you know, as far as the unit meeting or a monthly meeting that you can present at, you know, again, just communicate with me and let me know that it may take a little bit for you to get back to me. But it's got to be, you know, pretty close to this time or within at least a week or two after, because otherwise you're going to be getting into October with no date to present. Okay, but I'll show you what papers you need to fill out and what you'll need to do for that shortly. But just at this point, just see, you know, hey, manager, you know, I need to do this presentation for school. Do you think I could present at our November meeting or whatever? Okay. And I'll talk more about that with the presentation. Okay, so you can pretty well see when you get to fall break, you have a little bit of time here to work on some things to get caught up. So use that time wisely. And then we're going to get into the last couple sections of the presentation. And then here's where it gets really exciting, because this is where you will submit your paper. I have to review your PowerPoint slides before you present, and I need at least 2 days. Okay. If you think I can do it the night before and turn it around and send it right back to you, that's probably not going to happen. So I need at least 48 hours of working days to get your presentation back to you. So you need to plan accordingly, because your emergency will not be mine. Okay. Like I said, I'll bend over backwards to help you, but I can't sometimes turn it around fast enough if you give it to me at the last minute. Okay. Your video presentation will need to be uploaded here, and then you will need to submit certain paperwork that I will show you. When we talk about that assignment, I'll talk about it. And then you'll need to do your review and peer reviews, and that's basically your final exam. Okay, is that peer review activity, and then responding to your peers. All right, so don't panic. I will explain all of those assignments individually. But again, it's just going to be easier, I think, to do them as separate, because there is so much. But I promise you, if you take one bite of the elephant at a time, it's not as bad as it looks. Okay, you just got to be organized and know what's coming. All right, so that is the syllabus and the calendar, and discussion board 1, which is pretty straightforward. Okay, assignments. This is where you will submit your assignments. Okay, you have some forms that I will show you. So your pre-oral presentation of capstone project information, I will show you where that form is, because that form is the one that you, after you've talked to your manager and they give you a date to present, you will submit that and you will get points for that. Now let's say that your presentation, you know, that date's not going to work out, your manager's sick, you're not having the meeting that day. That's why you need to give yourself a little bit of extra time and not present at the very last minute, you know, and then maybe you know, you're getting into December and you don't have a date to present because you waited a little too long. Okay. So if the date changes, it's okay. I just need to know that. But, if you can get, you know, as soon as your work is done and you're ready to present, you probably want to do that ASAP. And that's probably going to be mid to late November. Okay, so don't do it too early because, again, you may not have everything ready to go, so you don't want to schedule it too early, but also not too late. Most students, it's, mid to late October in the fall. Okay, when you submit your paper, it will go here. Your final paper will go here, and then you can review your Safe Assign. Your PowerPoint will go here for grading. And then after you do your presentation, there are some papers that I will need back. There are 3 of them, and I will show them to you next, that you need to submit here. Make sure you attach them all before you hit submit, otherwise you'll only attach one. But all of those papers have to be submitted after the presentation. Okay, these little discussion board 1 to discussion board 2, this is where you can click on your discussion boards and post your threads, and then this is how it's connected to our BSN Essentials. They're called alignments. Okay, but there's one for each discussion board. For your research proposal, audio, video presentation, and there is not one for the paper, but the paper is a compilation of all of these, so they kind of all apply. All right, so that is the assignments. Content. Okay, there's that lovely student nurse handbook if you would like to read that in all your spare time. And remember, I said we have pre-assignment presentation forms and post-assignment presentation forms. All right, here is the pre, and when I attach these, they attach in weird order, and I don't know why, and I can't fix it, but anyway, I'm going to show you the pre ones first, and they're clearly labeled pre and post. So when you get a date set with your manager to present, you're going to put your name here, the title of your presentation, when you're going to present, what time, where it's going to be, who's your audience, and you have to have somebody with a BSN or higher, if possible. If not, you need to let me know. The name and the credentials of the manager, supervisor, or charge nurse who has agreed to critique your presentation. Do not have a fellow student do this. I actually had this happen for the first time last semester. It cannot be somebody in this class. It needs to be somebody ideally who's already got their BSN, but somebody should be evaluating you that is outside of this program. Okay, and we did have to kind of rearrange that. The anticipated number of attendees, sometimes that depends on where you work. The average group should be 4 to 6 people. Again, if you only have 2 people in your organization, it's a doctor's office or something, I'm cool with that. But you need to communicate that with me. You cannot do this presentation at home. I had somebody do it at their kitchen table and their dog was walking around and I heard kids crying. And this is a professional presentation. This should be done in the workplace. And as I said, if you are not working right now, then this presentation will need to be done to the university faculty. If you can't find a group of RNs, and there can be LPNs and CNAs in there, but it's primarily for RNs. And it should be done in the work setting, okay? And again, if you have to change this, then this is where you will just email me and let me know, hey, Dr. Elsman, I had a change, and I will write it down on my calendar so I know that your date or time has changed. And that happens. But again, if I don't get something on the books for you, then students tend to procrastinate. Surely not, right? It happens. I was a student once too, and I could do a little procrastination myself. All right, so that is your pre-presentation information. And these next 2 forms, this is the post-presentation. So I've already done my presentation, which I will talk to you again about this when I do that recording. Is that one? Nope. Sorry, it's not wanting to load very well. Let's try again. There we go. Maybe. I live out in the country, so my internet is a little sketchy. There we go. All right. So this is the post-presentation. It's very similar. So this is one of the 3 documents you will turn in. This is the title of the presentation, name, title, the date that you presented, the time you presented, where you presented, how many people actually came, and then again the signature of the person who critiqued your presentation. Okay, all of that should be in place. The second document you'll need is the sign-in sheet. And you need to, when you do your presentation, we need to kind of see faces. And then you'll need to have everyone sign their name and their title who attended your presentation. There are reasons I've had to do this. Initially, when I taught this course, I didn't. But you know, there's always those people that kind of do things, and you realize that you have to change how you do things, unfortunately. Okay, and the third thing that you will give to me after that is done is you will use this grading rubric and give it to your person who's critiquing you, and they are to go ahead and have this to guide them. And I'd like to see their grading of you. I'm obviously not going to necessarily use their grading, but hopefully they know then what you were supposed to cover in your presentation and how you were scored. Okay, there's no signature sheet on the bottom of this because it's a rubric, but just have them sign across the bottom. Okay, so the sign-in sheet, the post-presentation form, and then this rubric needs to be given to the person that is critiquing you. All right, and I have that written right here. Post-presentation requires the sign-in sheet, the grading rubric from the syllabus, and the post-presentation form. Be sure to admit as one scanned document. So again, when you get to that point, just read the instructions, listen to the presentation I'm going to do for you that's in more detail, and you will be just fine. A couple other things under this tab are the common statistical tests. So for that statistical part, you can look at that, and that may be enough to help you. You may need a book. I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy a book. I will just tell you that if all else fails, a paired t-test or an unpaired t-test is probably the easiest statistical test you can use. You're just basically determining the different means of either like variables or unlike variables. You know, are you testing the same thing pre and post, or are you testing two different things or two different groups? So a t-test can be your friend. You might want to consider that. If you like stats and you want to dig into some of these other ones, that's fine. But that one's pretty easy peasy to use and is relevant to most projects. Okay, evidence-based practice in PICO. If you don't remember a lot about this, this is some of the stuff that is also posted on the Nurs 300 site that Dr. Halter has probably made available to you during your Nurs 300 course, but it's here if you want to look at it. If you're still struggling, I sometimes get a few people that are like wanting to redo their PICO and they don't know how and they don't remember what they did, so this might help you. There's also some articles here about examining the evidence. These are very, very good when you're looking at articles. These articles tell you about, you know, what's the best type of research to look for, what are the best types of articles to look for, and it really helps you look at what kind of stuff do you have. Is it quality stuff? I do want to say right here too is I'm not opposed to using articles that are from other countries, but if you're doing, let's say you're doing breastfeeding or skin to skin and all of your articles are from out of this country, you know, those are very different cultures. Many of those are third world countries, so I'm not sure how that is really relevant to the OB healthcare system here in this country. So again, I know Dr. Morgan and I had that conversation, so I think we've decided it's okay to have maybe a couple of articles from other countries. But you got to be really careful because in most places it's a very different healthcare system. For example, in Great Britain it's socialized medicine. However, there's a lot of really good research that comes out of places like Australia and Britain, even China, but you're looking at very different healthcare systems. So when you're looking for evidence, you need to think about all of those things. So those articles may be in your best interest to read. Also, there is an APA sample paper here and a sample lit review. Sometimes I get stuff and I'm not sure where people have been because they're definitely not APA and they're not set up in APA format. Dr. Morgan has you do lit reviews maybe a little bit differently. I think she has you do evidence tables and then put it together in a lit review. But the evidence table is not the lit review. So, you know, if I see that it's just not a lit review at all, some students were putting headings for each article. That's not an integrated lit review. So if you don't know what that looks like, you need to look at these, okay? Because what they were giving me was just basically a summary of each article with a title on it, and that's not a true lit review. So if you're not sure what a true lit review looks like, you should, because you've had research. But if not, in case you forgot, please look there. Okay, under discussions, this is just where your discussion boards are. Distance education requires us to have this distance education tab here. If you need anything, this is all distance ed information, but please know that if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Let's see here. Email. This is just a way to email either other students in the class or me or whomever, so you probably all know what that is now. Here's my faculty info. This also has my office hours on it and my phone number and my email. And like I said, feel free to contact me, especially during those virtual office hours. I will tell you, I've been doing virtual office hours for over a year now. I've not had one person ever call me in my virtual office hours. And that's okay. If you don't want to hop on the internet and do that, you feel free to call me by phone. But it's a cool thing, and it's a cool way to be connected with students. But I just don't think it's caught on really like Distance Ed maybe thought that it would. But that's cool. It's okay. All right. Grade Center, you should be able to see Grade Center. And this should be correct as far as the points and all of the assignments for the class. You should have a link to my virtual office hours. Here's some resources if you're not sure how to get started, but I think you've probably seen this in other courses by now if you've been in this program for any length of time, which by this time you should have been. And then my office link is here. So again, during those virtual office hours, feel free to hop on. I will confess that sometimes I forget because stuff happens. A student comes to my office, faculty come to my office, there's some kind of big drama going on. You know, you have those things, right? So you just never know what the day is going to present, and sometimes I forget. So if I'm not on there, I am really sorry, and just feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. Hey, Dr. Alsman, you forgot your virtual office hour today. And I assure you I'll get back with you. So I really try to be good about that, but sometimes crazy stuff happens. So I will do my best. BSN pin. You will have an opportunity to buy a BSN pin. Let's see if I can get that to pull up. It's kind of pretty. It's different from the VU ASN pin. And you can get it in silver or gold. And you can get your name on the back, that kind of stuff. So I will have the actual updated order form for you. It's something that you send straight to the bookstore, and they send the pin to your house, since we don't have any kind of pinning ceremony or anything like that. So more information to come on that when Dr. Halter gives that to me. Here's the tab for the library. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm not used to talking this much. So you should be able to get onto the library from our site. And we do have a really great library. I can tell you that when I was working on my doctorate at USI, I think I used our library more than I used USI's library. Not that theirs was terrible, but we just really had a lot of stuff on ours. And if you are still struggling to find good research, let me know. I'm more than happy to help students try to get the information that they need if they're struggling, maybe trying to figure out the right keywords or the right topic or, you know, just the right literature to support their PICO. I'm all about being on the library site with you, trying to help you look. Okay? There's one you can't see right now, I don't think, and that's the end of course surveys and program surveys. I'll have those posted and available for you closer to the end of the semester. And I'm not sure what I got a home button down there for, but I guess it goes back up to the top. Isn't that special? They did an upgrade on Blackboard this summer, and it is really different. And we're kind of on the, I think I like this up here better. So on the struggle bus trying to figure out where everything's at, but we'll get there. It'll be okay. So that is all I'm going to give you for right now, but I assure you for each discussion board and for each assignment, I will go through everything in more detail. For now, just work on all of the information that is on the first part of the calendar for this week, and there will be more information to come. And as always, please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.